If you clicked on this video, it is because you are feeling the heavy, suffocating weight of a world that never stops asking for more. You are here because you are tired of the race, tired of the hustle, and tired of reaching for a success that seems to vanish the moment you touch it. A killer transformation is possible for your soul, but it requires looking back 3,000 years to find the path forward. I have spent years researching the intersection of ancient wisdom and modern psychology, and what I have found in the words of the teacher, the King of Jerusalem, is the most effective cure for burnout ever documented. In this journey, we will unveil why your current efforts are failing, what the true nature of satisfaction is, and exactly how you can reclaim your peace by following the 5 core realizations of the wisest man to ever live. This is the ancient manual for your modern crisis. You wake up, and before your eyes have even adjusted to the morning light, the race begins. You climb the ladder, you chase the success, you check every box the world has handed you, yet at the end of the day, there's an ache in your soul that rest cannot fix. You have everything the modern world tells you to want, yet you feel as though you have nothing. This is the modern burnout, a quiet, heavy, and suffocating exhaustion that comes from running a full-speed race toward a finish line that doesn't actually exist. We live in an era of constant, frantic motion, where our worth is measured by our productivity and our status is defined by the digital shadow we cast. We are tired, not just in our muscles and our minds, but in the very depths of our being, in the silent places where our identity resides. But here is the most overlooked secret of all. The more you chase the wind, the more breathless you become. 3,000 years ago, the wisest king to ever walk the earth, the figure we know as the teacher in the book of Ecclesiastes, ran this exact same race. He did not just watch it from a distance, he was the primary competitor. He built empires that touched the clouds and gardens that rivaled the dawn. He denied himself absolutely nothing his eyes desired, testing the limits of human experience. He tasted every pleasure, mastered every science, accumulated wealth that would make modern billionaires look like paupers, and sat at the pinnacle of global power. And after he had seen it all, tasted it all, and owned it all, he sat in the profound silence of his palace and reached a startling, heavy conclusion. He called it havel, a word for vapor or breath or a wisp of smoke. He looked at the monuments he had built and realized he was merely chasing the wind. He saw that every stone he laid would eventually crumble, and every coin he gathered would one day belong to someone who had never worked for it. This realization was not meant to bring despair, but to offer a profound and honest reflection on the true meaning of life. Today, we are undergoing a spiritual intervention. We are decoding the reflections of this king to find the only true cure for the burnout of the soul. You are invited to step out of the frantic heat of the sun and into the cool, still shadow of the temple to reflect deeply on your choices, your priorities, and the legacy we leave behind. The book of Ecclesiastes is a startling declaration of the vanity of earthly things, yet behind its seeming melancholy lies a rich and transformative wisdom. It is a call to humility, a return to simplicity, and a path toward reverence. In the grand design of the universe, there is a divine rhythm that we have forgotten in our modern rush. We try to live in a state of eternal summer, but there is a time for everything under the heaven, a season for every purpose. Our burnout often comes from our stubborn refusal to accept these cycles. We try to force a harvest when the soil needs to be planting. We try to laugh when the soul desperately needs to cry. We try to hold on with white knuckles when it is clearly time to let go. True peace begins only when we stop fighting the seasons and start trusting the timing of the Creator. Life is not a linear climb to a peak. It is a series of cycles, to be born and to die, to plant and to harvest, to weep and to dance. When we understand this, we begin to live with more peace and less anxiety. The secret is learning to discern the right moment for each action and trusting that even the silence and the waiting have value. They are not empty spaces. They are part of a sovereign plan that far exceeds our understanding. Consider the farmer who stands in the mist of the early morning. He sows his seed in the dawn, and he does not withhold his hand in the evening. He works with diligence, yet he carries no anxiety, for he knows he does not control the rain, the sun, or the soil. This is the secret of perseverance. We are called to work with our whole hearts, not because we are guaranteed a specific result, but because daily faithfulness is its own reward. We must work diligently, not giving up, because we do not know which effort will bring fruit. Blessings often come from the directions we least expect, and when we release our grip on the outcome, the pressure that fuels our burnout begins to dissolve into the air. We look at the world and we see injustice. We see the righteous suffer and the wicked prosper, and it creates a friction in our spirits. We see those who work hard fail, while those who cheat succeed, and we feel the burn of resentment. But wisdom teaches us that there is a final judgment for every purpose and every work. The king recognized that even in the highest courts of power, there is a time for every purpose. God sees every act, every tear, and every hidden motive. This realization brings a comfort that the world cannot offer. We do not have to be the ultimate judges of this life. We can remain faithful in the midst of unfairness, believing that true justice is not a matter of if, but when. The Lord does not ignore the suffering of the righteous or the wickedness of the ungodly. Our part is to remain faithful, believing that God is the righteous judge of all things. There is a protection in wisdom, much like there is a protection in wealth. Money can buy a roof and a meal, providing a temporary safety. But wisdom does something more. It preserves the life of the one who possesses it. Money can provide temporary safety, but wisdom brings spiritual direction and discernment. True wisdom guards us from the destructive choices that lead to burnout. It gives us the spiritual discernment to say no to the trivial and yes to the eternal. When we invest in our souls rather than just our bank accounts, we find a refuge that no market crash can take away. Divine wisdom is a guide, a source of life, and a shield against the exhaustion of a hollow life. We must also make peace with our own imperfection. There is not a single person on this earth who does good and never sins. When we stop expecting perfection from ourselves and those around us, we find the grace to breathe. Burnout is often the result of carrying the heavy, suffocating mask of having it all together, of pretending that we are more than human. But when we acknowledge our limitations, we take the first step toward relying on a mercy that is new every morning. This shift leads us toward compassion and away from the exhaustion of judgment. Recognizing our limitation is the first step toward relying on a strength that is greater than our own. The future is a mystery, and no matter how much we plan or worry, we cannot tell what tomorrow will bring. We plan our years and our decades, yet we cannot truly control the next hour. This uncertainty should not produce fear, but a deeper dependence on the one who holds time in his hands. When we accept that we are not the masters of tomorrow, the anxiety of the what if gives way to the serenity of the now. A wise heart discerns the right time to speak and the right time to be silent. It learns to move at the pace of the Spirit, not the frantic, crushing pace of the world. Knowing when to act is a mark of wisdom, and discernment saves us from 1,000 mistakes. Imagine a man trying to cut down a forest with a dull axe. He swings with all his might, he sweats, he exhausts himself, yet the wood barely yields. This is the image of a life without wisdom. To everything you do, you must bring your whole might, for the time to act is now, and there is no work or knowledge in the grave. But remember this: if the iron is blunt and you do not whet the edge, you must put to more strength. Wisdom is the edge that makes your effort fruitful. Many of us are burnt out simply because we have forgotten to stop and sharpen the axe. We rush into tasks without reflection, using blunt force where we should be using spiritual direction. Working without wisdom is like using a dull tool. It requires more effort and brings fewer results. We must learn to stop and sharpen the edge of our souls. We must realize that the race is not always to the swift, nor the battle to the strong. Riches do not always go to the men of understanding, nor favor to the men of skill. Time and chance happen to everyone. This is a humbling truth that shatters our pride. Success is not merely a result of our effort, but a gift of divine sovereignty. Life is full of surprises, and control is not in our hands. When we rely solely on our own strength, we are destined to burn out. But when we depend on divine grace, we find a strength that is made perfect in our weakness. Humility comes from realizing that success doesn't come only from effort. It allows us to work without the heavy weight of being solely responsible for the outcome. Even a reputation built over a lifetime can be destroyed by a single moment of folly. Like dead flies in a perfumer's ointment, a small mistake can ruin much wisdom. This calls us to a life of vigilance and integrity. A small error can destroy a reputation built with years of care. Wisdom is not just about having great ideas. It is about the consistency of our character in the small, unseen things. Integrity takes years to build, but can be lost in a second. Those who live to bring others down often find they have dug a pit for themselves to fall into. But those who live to promote truth and peace find that their own path is made straight. There is a radical beauty in generosity. Cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days. This is the gesture of a soul that has moved beyond the fear of not having enough. To give without knowing the return, to bless others even without an immediate reward. This is the path to true contentment. Kindness is never a waste of time, and God sees every act. Every gesture of generosity is a seed planted in eternity, and in God's perfect timing, the harvest will come. Living by faith means planting even when we do not see the immediate harvest. It is the opposite of the hoarding that leads to burnout. We must face the reality of our end. The body returns to the earth as it was, but the spirit returns to the Creator who gave it. Earthly life has a certain end. We are more than just flesh and bone. We are eternal souls inhabiting a temporary world. This perspective changes everything. It changes our priorities, our relationships, and our pursuit of meaning. When we understand that our spirit is eternal, we begin to live for the things that last, rather than the things that burn up. Knowing our spirit returns to Him should lead us to live wisely in view of eternity. We are travelers, not residents, and when we realize this, the pressure to own the world begins to fade. Prosperity is not about the accumulation of things. It is about the power to enjoy what you have with a grateful heart. Many have wealth, but no peace. They work and work, but never find rest. They have the feast, but they have no appetite. But the ability to take your portion, to rejoice in your labor, and to eat and drink with a satisfied soul, this is a gift from God. True joy doesn't come from achieving more. It comes from recognizing the hand of the Father in the simple daily moments. Prosperity is more than accumulation. It is the ability to enjoy with gratitude. When God is at the center, prosperity brings peace, not worry. It is a quiet, deep satisfaction that doesn't need to be shouted. Money is useful, but it does not solve everything. It can buy resources and help in emergencies, but it is a tool, not a god. Use money with wisdom, but do not place your hope in it. True prosperity is knowing how to use money without being ruled by it. And remember, he who watches the wind will never sow, and he who regards the clouds will never reap. If you wait for the perfect conditions to start your dream, to mend that relationship, or to seek God, you will wait forever. Burnout is often the result of the perfectionist trap, the paralysis of analysis. God calls us to take steps of faith, even in the midst of uncertainty. The real harvest comes to those who plant with courage, trusting that God gives the increase. It is better to hear the rebuke of the wise than the empty praise of fools. Correction from a wise person is an opportunity for growth. Unlike empty praise, which flatters the ego and leads us down a path of delusion, healthy rebuke challenges us to mature. A wise heart does not get offended when challenged. It receives instruction as a gift. Those who accept wise rebuke avoid many mistakes and walk a stronger, more faithful path. Better to be corrected in love than deceived by flatterers who only want to use your strength. The end of a thing is better than its beginning. Starting is important, but finishing well is even better. Many begin projects, dreams, or journeys with excitement, but few persevere through the long, quiet middle to the end. God values the faithfulness that lasts until the finish. Real growth happens between the beginning and the end through challenges, tests, and the long seasons of consistency. Patience is more precious than impulsive pride. Do not give up halfway through your race, but keep going with faith and consistency, trusting that God honors those who finish their race with integrity and purpose. Wisdom protects better than weapons of war. While many trust in physical strength, aggressive strategies, or vast riches, true protection comes from wisdom. Wisdom saves us from danger, conflict, and disastrous decisions. One wise person can save a city, while the folly of one sinner can destroy much good. Walking in wisdom builds safety and wins the unseen battles of life. We must also understand that the righteous do not always prosper immediately. The king observed that the just often face hardship, while the wicked enjoy apparent success. Do not be disillusioned by temporary injustice. Our hope is not in immediate reward, but in the eternal God who rewards each one in his time. Do not live stuck in the past. It is easy to idealize former times and think they were better than today. But it is unwise to live in nostalgia. God is working today, and each new day brings transformation and renewal. Excessive longing for the past can blind us to what God is doing now. The past teaches us, but it is in the present that we walk by faith. Furthermore, the house of mourning teaches more than the house of feasting. Though celebrations bring joy, it is in mourning that we learn life's deepest lessons. The pain of loss awakens us to the brevity of life and makes us seek purpose. Mourning shifts our focus to what is eternal, pulling us out of the shallow waters of temporary pleasure. True daily joy is a gift from God. It doesn't come from human achievements or the checking of a list. To work, to eat, and to enjoy the fruits of our labor. These are simple, divine blessings. Without God, even the greatest successes feel empty, like drinking from a mirage. With Him, even simple daily moments become sources of deep joy. Living well isn't about having everything, but about recognizing God's hand in all things. Simple, genuine joy is the reflection of His presence in our lives. As we reach the conclusion of the whole matter, we find the ultimate cure for the burnout of the modern world. We have looked at the vanity of pleasure, the grief of knowledge, and the emptiness of wealth. We have seen that all earthly pursuits, when disconnected from the Creator, are nothing more than a vapor in the wind. Wealth, pleasure, work, and knowledge all have value, but only find true meaning when surrendered in reverence to the Creator. The meaning of life is not found in what we achieve, but in who we belong to. We find our peace when we stop trying to be the center of the universe. Fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. This is the spiritual and philosophical climax of our journey. To fear God is not to be afraid, but to live with such deep respect, trust, and love for the eternal, that the opinions and the pressures of the temporary world lose their power over you. It is to find your center in the one who does not change. When God is the center of your days and eternity is your direction, the burnout of the world can no longer touch you. You are no longer chasing the wind. You are walking in the light. May these truths be planted as seeds in our hearts. May we live more simply, deeply, and eternally with the Lord as our center and our peace. The King found the cure for the burnout of the world in the silence of His wisdom, proving that even a crown cannot protect a man from the vanity of a hollow life. But if that King's wisdom is the medicine for our exhaustion, there is another story that reveals the source of our strength. If the King's wisdom is the map, then the shepherd's courage is the fire. What happens when you have to face the giant in your own path, standing in a valley where the armor of the world doesn't fit, and you are armed with nothing but a stone? In our next journey, we explore the psychology of the giant killer, uncovering how to find the stone of identity when the world is screaming for you to be someone else. The path to true victory is rarely what we have been told, and the shepherd's secret may be the final piece of your transformation.